Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. I'm your host, Coach Paul Tripoli. We have a great interview for you today on the show. Here on Coach's Corner, we try to inspire and educate the mind to think, the heart to feel, and the body to act. Coming up on the show today, former San Francisco Giant Greg Litton and his amazing story. So we're going to go to that. We're going to break for some commercials because we have to pay for this podcast. So stay tuned. Right after this 2-minute break, we will start the interview with Greg Litton.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
My name is Steve Reynolds. I'm the manager and owner of Cordova Lanes, and we help keep your mind out of the gutter. Cordova Lanes is part of the community of Pensacola. Being here for 43 years, we've entertained more people than any other bowling center in the city. We sell fun for a living. Cordova Lanes is located at 2111 Airport Boulevard in Pensacola, behind Cordova Mall. Come on out and see us at Cordova Lanes Bowling Center. Thank you.
Arbitrium Consulting for all your fencing, landscaping, pressure washing, tree trimming needs. Call 850-483-0350 for your free estimates. Serving Pensacola, Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, Destin, Perdido, Gulf Shores, Foley, and the entire Gulf Coast. Arbitrium Consulting is owner-operated, fully licensed and insured. Call today, 850-483-0350, the official landscaper of Coach's Corner.
75 years of service and high tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than a simple pane of brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. Thanks for joining the show. I'm your host, Coach Tripp. We are here with special guest Greg Litton, good friend of mine and part-time golfing buddy, former San Francisco Giant infielder and Woodham High graduate, also PJC. You're a PJC grad. Greggy, thanks for joining the show.
My pleasure, Coach. I love talking sports, and especially with you.
Greggy, I know you're on the road, but are you going up to Greenville to play golf up there?
I am. We've got a 12:05 tee time, and so I'm on the road, and it's raining, but everything will be just fine.
All right. Well, folks, let's start from the beginning, Greg. Because of my podcast, and I transitioned from radio to podcast, the new platform, and we got a lot of new listeners, and they don't know your story like I do. So let's talk a little bit about growing up in high school, Woodham. Talk about your team and your teammates and your coaches, and did you play at Bill Bond? Talk about your youth growing up and your siblings.
Well, Coach, I grew up in Panama, the Canal Zone, and my father was stationed there during his time in the service. He was playing baseball at Mississippi State at the time, and ended up, after he got out of the services, finished up playing ball, got into coaching, and somehow, I don't know how he did it back then, but somehow he found out about a coaching job in Panama. So I grew up there until I was 13 years old, and then we moved to Pensacola, one of the best cities in the South, and went to Woodham High School. One of my highlights, at least one of the things I'm most proud of in my baseball career, was getting cut from the junior varsity team my 9th grade year, and then starting every varsity game my sophomore year. And it's probably the only thing me and Michael Jordan have in common. But he's just a little bit better athlete than I was. But I went on to have a pretty good high school career, not great. Got a scholarship to Pensacola Junior College, great academic and athletic junior college. Started to get a little bigger, stronger, and my freshman year there was talks about being drafted. Didn't happen, but my sophomore year I was, and was drafted in the first round of the winter draft by the San Francisco Giants. I also signed a letter of intent. Was going to play at Mississippi State with a few guys some of your listeners might remember, like Will Clark, Rafael Palmeiro, Jeff Brantley, Bobby Thigpen. But I ended up signing with the Giants, not because the money was so great, but just having that little first round asterisk next to your name, I thought, that's a big bonus. Major league teams, whether it's football, basketball, or baseball, they like their high round draft picks to succeed. If we don't, it makes them look bad. So I thought it was the best thing for my professional career to just go ahead and get started. I signed and went off to play minor league baseball and had no idea what I was getting into.
Yeah, talk about it. You spent 6-7 years in the majors, but before you were drafted at 20 years old in 1984 and didn't hit the majors until 89. So talk about those 5-6 years in the minors and the bus rides. Talk about that grind.
I tell you, Coach, it's a lot tougher than most people realize. The major leagues, yeah, that's great. But the minor leagues, I'm sure most of your listeners have watched Bull Durham. Sorry, I had a big black Silverado truck. Gonna pull right. But the Bull Durham is actually probably the closest movie to minor league baseball reality that I've seen. It's pretty close to that. It's a tough lifestyle. As soon as you sign, you quickly realize it's a game, but now you're doing this as your livelihood. It's a career, and it's tough. Rookie ball was a lot of fun, but once you get out into A ball, AA, and AAA, man, I was talking about this to a friend this morning. We play 30, 40 game schedule in the minor leagues, and you only have about 5 days off all season. And the bus rides, you're making in rookie ball, I made $600 a month. The only way to survive, yeah, I know, is put 5 guys in a 2-bedroom. We had people sleeping everywhere. You go on a road trip for 10 days, and they give you $120 to eat on. And so you eat terrible. It's all fast food. And
you try to save your meal money, right?
Well, yeah. Well, you try and make it last because you weren't getting paid enough to supplement it. And but when I see old buddies of mine, I'd do it again tomorrow. Wouldn't even question. I'd play for $600 a month now to go play rookie ball. But I loved it. I did get. Unfortunately, I spent 4.5 years in the minor leagues before getting called up. I had a lot of ups and downs. I was quickly, my first year, I made the all-star team in rookie ball. The next year we won the league championship. I was a first, second baseman in 50 years to drive in 100 RBIs. And, my career got off to a fast start. And then I'd like to say, well, just to be honest, I got a little sideways in the minor leagues, got caught up with the minor league lifestyle, the partying, and you have a good game, you drown your sorrows, or a good game, you go out and celebrate. And
right.
you have a bad game, you go out and drown your sorrows. Well,
right.
That gets to get a little wearing and taxing on your body, makes those seasons long and hard. So I had some down times. Fortunately, I realized what I was doing. I got really off track. Being a Christian, I got my life back in order and started putting God and Jesus where they're supposed to be in the front of my career, not in the back roads.
Right.
And, I just started focusing, trying to make sure I was giving it everything I had, and was fortunate in 1989 to get called up to the major leagues. And I can tell you, Coach, it was worth every day of hard work.
Coach, Greggy, let's talk about that day, May 2nd, 1989, when you got called up. You had a transformation and turned your life around, and you probably had really good years in 87 and 88. And what was that phone call like when you got called up? Who did you call after that as soon as you got the phone call?
Well, I tell you this, it was really an unusual call because it was only 3 weeks into the season in 1989. And I had not gotten off to a very quick start. I rarely did in the minor leagues, don't know why, but I'd gotten off to a slow start. That particular night, Coach, I had a terrible game. I went like 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. I was not in a good mood. And went home that night and, was just sitting around the apartment, sure, playing some stupid video game. And the phone rang. This is pre-cell phones. And so I went over, answered the phone, and it was Bruce Graham, our minor league trainer. And he said, Litton, he said, get up to the ballpark. You got to pack your bags. You're going to San Francisco. Well, Coach, I thought, there were some of the old veteran team that were sitting on the ballpark, have a few cocktails, and they were going to play a practical joke on somebody, and I wasn't going to fall for it. I actually argued with Bruce for about 5 minutes, and finally I was like, okay, Bruce, I'm coming. And I hung up the phone. I remember the first thing I turned around, I looked at my roommate. He's looking at me just like, what is going on? And I said, I think I'm getting called up to the big leagues, but I'm not sure. And he said, and he goes, after tonight's game? And I was going, I was like, yeah. So I drove to the ballpark. I wasn't sold out. I wasn't going to get tricked, but I got to the ballpark. Sure enough, I was going to the big leagues. And man, I tell you what, Coach, it was, I tell people all the time, I'm very fortunate. I do some traveling, some professional speaking. And I tell them all the time, I wish I could share that feeling with everybody because, I had dreamed of that moment since I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And it was just an incredible feeling of accomplishment. And the hardest part about it was I had to drive all the way back to my apartment before I could call my dad. And so, yeah. So got home, called my dad, and sure enough, next morning was in San Francisco, and it was unbelievable.
Greggy, we both been blessed, man. I remember traveling in the first game at Alabama when Coach Bryan put me on the traveling squad after 2.5 years of grinding. So I know what that feeling's like. I wish everybody could capture it. The Pensacola area is really, really is an amazing sports town, but it's also got rich baseball tradition. Starting with our Hall of Fame, Don Sutton, right? Jay Bell, Travis Fryman, Mark Witten, Adron, yourself, Josh Donaldson, Jim Presley, Talmadge Nunnery, Addison Russell, Dennis Llewellyn, Kevin Saucier, Max Siebert, just to name a few. I mean, what was it like? Was Buddy your coach at PJC, and what were the other, like Bill Bond, some of the other baseball legends in Pensacola that started this run of Major League Baseball players?
Yeah, I tell you, and also Preston Hanna was another one, and Buddy Kisner was my coach at BJC, and one of the nicest, best men I've ever known. Just a great guy. I was up in Atlanta just a couple of weeks ago seeing Dusty Baker. Went up to a ball game. Houston was in town playing Atlanta. My brother, who used to come out to see me play all the time, and he had gotten to know Dusty, and he was like, after Dusty winning it all last year, it was nice. So we went up to see him play, and actually stayed with one of my junior college teammates, and we went over those teams. I mean, we had the junior college team. My freshman and sophomore year at BJC. Most people think I'm kidding when I say this, but honest to goodness, Coach, that team could have competed against any Division I school in the country those 2 years. And I mean, we had, and when I say this, look, I understand most of the time it's depth. Anybody can play with their ace against another team if you've got a really, strong starting pitcher or something. Right. But off of those two teams, we had two pitchers pitch in the major leagues. We had two pitchers make it to AAA, and we had three pitchers make it to AA.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, off of one junior college, just that alone. But we had just talent in every position. But those were just fun, great days in Pensacola. Back then, we had guys like Jimmy Presley, like you mentioned, Dennis Llewellyn, Kevin Saucier, Preston Hanna, that we had to look up to. And it was something that I just always dreamed of. It's the only thing I ever wanted to do. And, I'd like to think I gave it my all and got, almost everything I had out of it. No athlete ever looks back and did, I don't think, at least I did, got all of your talent out, but it's a tough life.
Yeah. If everybody says they got no regrets, they're lying. Come on. Yeah. Don't give me that. All of us could have probably done something better in our careers. Let's talk about some of the Pensacola's great baseball coaches. You mentioned Buddy and Bill Hamilton, and I think Mike Jeffcoat is in that category with his what he's done with UWF. But
Fred Waters.
some of the great Bill Bond, Mark Conti, Charlie Warner, Richard Labounty. Those are some of the guys that are responsible for developing at the high school level some of our great athletes in baseball.
Yeah, and I played against Labounty, and I just already went brain dead. I'm driving. Coach at Pace, you mentioned.
Yeah, Charlie Warner.
Charlie. I actually played against them and played with them for the old Pensacola Seagulls, the old semi-pro team. Oh yeah.
What?
Oh yeah. It was, Coach. It was one of the funnest times I ever had playing baseball. We played on Catholic's Field. We traveled to Pascagoula. We played in Mobile. Listen to this. This is the funniest game. We went over to Mobile to play in Theodore, Alabama. And they had, as an outfield fence, they had 4x4s about 3 or 4 feet high, every 10 or 20 feet, had a rope going like this to each. That was the outfield fence. And the funny thing about it is Preston Hanna had just gotten released from the Braves. I think he was in AAA at the time. Well, the only thing when you're that age in Pensacola, That's the reason I was playing for him, because I was too old to play at Bill Bond or Babe Ruth, heck, I went brain dead the other league I played in. But, once you hit 18 years old, you can't play in any of those. And so I had to play on the semi-pro team. And Preston Hanna, he was trying to stay sharp, trying to hopefully get picked up. And he played with us a few games. So we had I still remember our first baseman, Big Henry, and Sweet Lou was on second, Coach Pearl. Man, we had some fun.
Oh my gosh! All right, so how's your golf game? You're going to play golf. How's your golf game?
Oh, Coach, it's getting old does a lot to you, but I still play decent. I still hit it pretty good, but I don't know what's happened to my swing. I never like to watch it because you never think your swing looks as good as anybody else does. But people used to tell me I had a good swing, and I think that's gone. I saw a video a guy took, and on a ball that I smoked off the tee, and I saw the video, and I was like, oh my, how did I possibly hit that ball good with that swing? It was ugly, but fortunately in golf they don't ask you how, they just ask you how many. So
let's talk about the rule changes in Major League Baseball. Do you like them? Which ones don't you like? There's the time clock, and of course, the bases are larger, and the infield cannot have shifts. What are your feelings on all of the changes?
Coach, I'm so disappointed in Major League Baseball. It's hard to even describe. I saw a guy the other night slide into second base on a double play, and he held the second baseman or shortstop up from falling down after he slid. And I'm just like, oh my. It's just so sad. The one thing that may have helped a little, that I've heard positive things about being in Atlanta, didn't even notice the shot clock, pitch clock, because nothing happened with it, but it did speed the games up. It does help. I think they went a little overboard with the pitch clock, and then, the pickoffs, you can only throw over twice. The games, went from, I think, 3:08 down to like 2 hours. And I think they can tweak some of this, maybe get rid of stuff, and keep the games about 2.5 hours. I think that'd be a good thing. I always thought the players should have been able to do this themselves, but they weren't. So something maybe had to be done. But the shift, come on. The league Major League Baseball has to outlaw a defense because you're not a good enough hitter to beat it. That's just pathetic. The bases being bigger. The hitters now go up wearing this gear. They stand right on top of home plate. I don't like any of it. I think the game is just getting so soft, and I don't know. I hate to feel this way, Coach, but it's hard to watch sometimes, and I'd like to see them get back to old school, police themselves. Look, there are hitters that need to be plunked every now and then. I'm sorry if somebody disagrees with that. You're not trying to end a career. I always hear that with a hitter that,
right.
Well, Coach, let me ask you a simple question. You follow baseball. You're a sports nut. When's the last time a hitter in Major League Baseball got hit by a pitch and had his career ended? Can you think of?
Never. Not that I can think of. No.
Okay, so it could happen. You could get a hangnail on the wooden bench and end your career too. But that's not. I just think it's getting silly.
Well, who are the? I know you're close with Dusty Baker. What was, because you spent like 3 or 4 years with Dusty in '89 to '92, some 2-3 years. Tell our listeners a little bit about Dusty, how happy you were for him, and what did he say to you when you saw him recently?
It was great. Dusty Baker is he's the most knowledgeable baseball person I've ever known. And, as an ex-player, Coach, we all think we know more than we do. Mm-hmm. But I tell you this, I'll be watching a game and, managers will do something. And, of course, I'm in my, chair criticizing and telling him what he should have done different. But I tell you this, when Dusty does something that I don't, I literally will sit there and go, oh, man, come on, Dusty, that's just dumb. And then I'll go, well, to be honest, he probably knows something I don't. And I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, because being around him as much as I was, without a doubt, Coach, he knows more about baseball than I'll ever even dream. Guy's been in the game for 50 years. Just amazing. I think he was called up to Atlanta, I think 47 to 50 years ago. And, I mean, that guy's probably forgotten more baseball knowledge than I'll ever know. But the guy is just one of these. I always say, if you don't like Bake and you play with him, you might have played against him. He played tough. He might have given you some reasons not to like him. But if you got to know him and didn't like him, there's something wrong with you. When I came up as a rookie, it's a long story. I had up and down minor league career. And let me just say, he stood up for me to the brass and to some of the big dogs that were out of line when he had no business or no reason to. I barely knew him, but he knew they were wrong and stood up for me when I was a little punk rookie. And I'll never forget that. And love the guy. Couldn't be happier for him. The only thing he hadn't done in the game was win a World Series as a manager, and couldn't be happier for him. When I saw him in Atlanta, I mean, he brought my brother, my nephew, my junior college teammate, brought us onto the field for batting practice. And
wow.
Yeah, made their day. And he's just that guy. And
you always want a coach to have your back. I mean, and be knowledgeable and care. That's all. And those are the three things that players want from coaches. And it was kind of neat to see that everybody's got mentors too. Everybody learns something from everybody else. I mean, Coach Bryant learned from every other coach. Saban does it with his coaches. He brings people in so he can learn from them. Everybody has mentors. Who was Dusty Baker's mentor? Where did he get his knowledge from?
He used to mention all kind of guys, but I'll tell you the main one that he always mentioned and he came up with was Hank Aaron. And hearing the stories from Dusty about Hank, man, we lost a great man when he passed away. And what that guy went through, trying to break Babe Ruth's record and breaking it, and in those times, and the elegance and the class that Hank Aaron showed,
mm-hmm.
and hearing the stories from Dusty, that was just a special person, and he's the one person I remember Dusty talking about that just took him under his wing and
mm-hmm.
taught him the ropes. And that's a pretty good mentor to have.
Yeah, I think so. And Dusty just passing it on. He's just paying it forward. And that's why I guess he loves it so much and coaching for so long. All right, I'm going to brag on you a little bit, Greggy. Goose Gossage, Brett Butler, Will Clark, 3 for 6. You were 3 for 6 in the 1989 Earthquake World Series with a 2-run shot in Game 4 against reliever Gene Nelson. Talk a little bit about, number one, being in the zone when you were that World Series, and talk about the earthquake and the repercussions and what you remember about that.
Man, that earthquake was, well, you just have to have gone through it to understand what we did. But some funny stuff did happen. The first, I was called up And when Matt Williams got sent down, because he was their obvious heir apparent to third base, I was never, that wasn't my position. I didn't have the power. I could play it defensively. I could hit, drive in some runs, but I didn't have the power, and that just wasn't my spot. Second base was my best position, but they called me up because I could play all over, and they sent Matty down because he wasn't quite ready. And me and Ernie Riles, who had a great time in Atlanta last 2 weeks ago, because Ernie lives in Atlanta, and Dusty got him some tickets, and Ernie came to the second game, and boy, we had more fun laughing about the old days. And great guy, Ernie was one of my buddies. He and I platooned at third base. Ernie played against right-handers. I played against lefties. And, just the way, sports works, life ain't fair. Ernie and I were both hitting over 300 at the All-Star break.
Wow.
The Giants were in first place, and Ernie and I got sent to the bench because Matt Williams had hit about 24 home runs and about 180 at-bats in AAA, and, he's just a phenom. And so, we were relegated to the bench as utility guys at that point. But I played against lefties mostly, and going against the A's kind of stunk in that World Series because, they had Mike Moore, Dave Stewart, Bob Welch. I don't know who their starters were beyond those, but the first two games in Oakland, Dave Stewart, Mike Moore, they were both 20-game winners.
Yeah.
They pitched great. Oakland pretty much kicked our butts the first two games. And, in the American League, if you don't start, you generally don't play. There's not a lot of, it's not like the National League, and that's why I hate the DH. But so we're going home. We played Tuesday and Wednesday in Oakland, had Thursday off, and then we're going to play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and as needed. But Friday's game, they had Bob Welch pitching, another right-hander. I think he won about 17 games. So I'm not in the lineup, and I'm enjoying it though, and goofing off and with some of my minor league buddies that were September call-ups, but not on the playoff roster. And Roger Craig walks by me about 30 minutes before the game, and my locker was right next to the training room. And he walks by and kind of slaps me on the back and says, "Hey," he said, "get out there and get loose. You might be starting." And he walks in the training room. That's all he says. And I turn back around, and my minor league buddies are, they're all bug-eyed, and I'm like, I thought he was joking. And I had a pretty good relationship with Roger. I thought he was just messing around. So I just sat there for about 5 minutes or so, and Roger comes back out of the training room, and he says, he said, "Get out there and get loose." He said, "Bob Welch is sick, hurt, something. I don't remember. I didn't hear much about it after hearing he was serious." He said, "He's going to go out and try and pitch, but La Russa has said, count on a lefty pitching because Bob's not going to be able to pitch." He goes, "You're starting at," I don't even remember where. I don't even think I heard. But he said, "You're starting at second or third if that happens." And I was like, "Oh, man." I was like, he's serious. And so I get around with people when I travel and speak, and I say, so at that point I did what all good ball players do. I went to the bathroom. And so true story, and I'm walking back out of the bathroom when the earthquake hit. And I grew up in Panama. I played minor league ball in California. I've been through a bunch of small earthquakes. And small earthquakes are like hurricanes aren't so funny anymore, but they're, a small earthquake was always kind of funny because I'd never been through a big one. And the earthquake hit, and I was literally standing in a door jamb, which for you listeners, if you're ever in an earthquake, that's the worst place to be. So, but I didn't know that, and I stood in the door jam, and I was about 30 yards from being outside in the parking lot safe. But I just thought, well, I'm not going to panic and run outside. It's just a little earthquake. So I stood there in the door jam, and it started rocking, and then it started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And, you know, I learned you don't know how big an earthquake's going to get until it stops getting bigger. And halfway through, it's basically throwing me off the walls. It sounds like a freight train going right over your head. The sound of concrete being bent, twisted toward like it was above me. The only way I can describe it, Coach, is I was like, I'm dead. It's coming down. I'm dead. And I'm 30 yards from outside. Couldn't get there. And I'll tell you another funny Dusty story. Halfway through the earthquake, for some reason, well, the lights went out, so I can't see anything either. Well, after it started slowing back down, I'm like, holy cow, I'm gonna live. The lights came back on temporarily, and we didn't have generators. We didn't have power for 5, 6, 7 days or so after that. So I don't know why they came back on just for a little bit, but they came back on, and I'm still literally standing there in shock outside the bathroom entrance. And I mean, the adrenaline rush, I'm shaking literally. And the first guy I see come walking into the locker room from towards the lunchroom area, which is the direction you'd go outside. You have to go through the lunchroom. And first guy I see come walking back in is Dusty. And his nickname's Cool Bake. Well, he comes walking in the locker room, and I'm like, holy, you know what? And I'm like, that scared the mess out of me. And Bakes looks at me and goes, didn't scare me. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, shut up, Bake. And I'm like, didn't scare you. You're so full of, and he goes, didn't scare me. And I'm like, oh, get out of here. So I go grab my stuff and you know, I got to get down to the field because we don't know what's happened. We think, all right, it's played, you know, we got to get ready. It's 25 minutes before the game, 20 minutes actually. And yeah, and I found out why I didn't scare him because he ran out in the parking lot. So, yeah. But
all right, one more story, Lit.
Yeah.
One more story. You got a Major League Baseball record to play all 9 positions. What was the funnest? What was the hardest? What was the craziest? You pitched, you caught, you played outfield. Tell a story about playing all 9 positions in the major leagues.
You know, Coach, defense really, I mean, I say it came easy to me. The actual playing did. You know, a lot of infielders, a lot of players talk about how tough it is playing different positions, going from shortstop to first base to left field to right field.
Right.
And that was a normal game for me. And that part just kind of came easy to me, I think, because I didn't overthink it. It's like, look, just catch it and throw it. That's all you do.
Yeah.
And now I obviously, you know, I practiced a lot. The catching and pitching was the funnest. Catching was the hardest. Pitching, I pitched in high school. My sophomore year at BJC, last half of the season, I was our stopper. I won our last junior college game. I started my only game starting.
Oh my gosh!
And threw a 7-inning, I think 3-hit shutout. So I pitched. I was always the extra pitcher at every level I played. In the big leagues, I was our extra pitcher. Back then, we only carried like 10 pitchers. Now they carry like 13. And I almost pitched probably 20, 25 games where it got down to where, like, look, this guy's got 1 inning left, and you know, you got it after that. That's what I always wanted to do, Coach. I wanted to get in there with a chance to win a game, and because the pitchers would have never heard the end of that had I got to win. But so it was pretty fun. The defense side of it kind of came easy. Just catch it, throw it, don't overthink it. But it was a lot of fun.
I guess pitching must have been the hardest, though, just going in against major leaguers. And who pounded you, and who did you strike out?
Well, I can tell you this, Coach. Just to my pitching, just to tell you how good I was. The only hitter that ever got a base hit off me is in the Hall of Fame. So that's Jeff Bagwell. So I only gave up hits to Hall of Fame.
Good stuff, Greggy, man. I miss you. We're going to have to go out and play some golf pretty soon, man.
I would love to, Coach. Good luck with this new high-tech stuff you're getting into, man. I'm just proud of you.
Thanks, Greggy. I appreciate you. Have a great day, man, and we'll talk to you soon, Greggy. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks. I want to thank Greg Litton for joining the show today. That wraps up today's show. Stay tuned for a couple spots from our commercial sponsors. Don't forget, next Saturday, Dr. Galen McCullough, interview with him, a world-renowned surgeon, author, entrepreneur. He snapped at Joe Namath at Alabama, and we'll talk about his latest book, The Saban Process and the Bryant Promise. Also, he includes the Lombardi Paradigm. So you don't want to miss that next Saturday. It's a great interview. Have a great sports weekend, everybody. Stay tuned for our sponsors' spots. We'll talk to you soon.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray, and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time. Arbitrium Consulting for all your fencing, landscaping, pressure washing, tree trimming needs. Call 850-483-0350 for your free estimates. Serving Pensacola, Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, Destin, Perdido, Gulf Shores, Foley, and the entire Gulf Coast. Arbitrium Consulting is owner-operated, fully licensed and insured. Call today, 850-483-0350, the official landscaper of Coach's Corner.
Hey, Bill, some game, huh?
I haven't really noticed, Paul.
What? The biggest game of the year?
I've been looking over my insurance. Talk about problems I'm trying to figure out.
Well, do what I did. Call the Seiler Agency. They showed me what I needed and what I didn't. They even saved me money. Now, instead of worrying about my insurance, I can worry about the big game.
Contact the Seiler Agency at 476-7443 for all of your insurance needs. Your independent agent for home, auto, boat, RV, commercial, general liability, life, and sound investment strategies. Call 476-7443 today.
Step one works so hard to get you in the perfect BuickGMC.com. Looking for a better car buying experience? With a Step 1 Advantage from Buick GMC, Fort Walton Beach, and Pensacola, receive no-hassle market-based pricing or incentives by pre-ordering. Looking to sell or trade? Our dedicated team will even come to you. Plus, every vehicle sold at Step 1 supports local charities right in your neighborhood. Experience the Step 1 Advantage at Buick GMC, Fort Walton Beach, and Pensacola today.